think that's a life goal completed, walking onto Big Mac music. So, so I'm Ben, and this is Josh.
Morning.
You can make up your own minds around which one's Grimace and who's the hamburger lover.
I'll be hamburger.
I think you can decide on that one. So thank you for joining us and braving the heat. I gather it's a lot cooler than it was earlier on in the week, but we do appreciate you being here with us today. So we're going to take you on a bit of a trip across the next 20 minutes, so around...
It's a good start.
It's a good start.
Let's get the... There we go.
There we go. My first test has been passed. We're going to take you on a bit of a journey across the last 20 years with McDonald's in terms of how we went from being a very functional brand without that kind of emotional bond and connection with people to being something that the nation have really taken to their hearts. So moving along that journey within the next 20 minutes, taking you on a 20-year roller coaster for us as a brand. Before we kick off, I'm just going to play a video in terms of where we see the brand right now. So hopefully this will be familiar to you. So I think seeing that ad and listening to System 1 speak, it's ever been the case for McDonald's that our founder, Ray Kroc, some 50-odd years ago, said, we're not in the burger business, we're in show business. And I think that absolutely epitomizes the direction that we've taken the brand. And when I look at that shot, it really does offer a slice of the UK. I think that's the beauty of us being a mass market brand, unashamedly mass, that we embrace all of the UK, truly democratic. And I think it's never been more true that if you want to see what Britain is like today, go and spend an afternoon sitting in McDonald's and you get a real flavour of it. And that's something that we're incredibly proud of, that breadth of appeal and how we've been able to resonate with so much of the UK. But it hasn't always been that case. And I think if we take it back to 2005, if we have a look at this, so this was a time of Tony Blair with Gordon Brown, you had Amy Winehouse on the radio, Oasis had just launched their album, I think it's called Don't Believe the Truth, which seems strangely prescient right now. And it was a simpler time for us all. There was no TikTok, there was no Twitter. You just had to get a fantastic TV ad, push it out in national press and drive some mass advertising. I'm not quite sure how we all kept ourselves busy, but we managed to. So simpler times for sure. But it certainly wasn't simpler for us at McDonald's. It was a time of immense challenge for us. We were under pressure with being blamed for lots of society's ills. We had Jamie Oliver talking consistently around us, our dear friend Morgan Spurlock with Super Size Me, and the brand was under tremendous pressure. And we were suffering because of that. We really realized that what we developed over time was a very functional relationship with our audience. It was based on convenience, price, and speed. And what we really wanted to do was engender a more emotional connection. Again, thinking back to everything you heard from System 1, that was really something that we took on board. And that was really the start of our business turnaround in terms of embracing that sense of creating an emotional connection with the UK, reminding people about what they first loved when when McDonald's came to the UK. I know what it was like for me when I first went to McDonald's. It was the only way my mum could get me out to go on a shopping trip with her, with me and my brother. And it was a genuine moment, an occasion, that joy of opening up the Happy Meal box. That was something that we wanted to reconnect with, that we'd forgotten, and we'd just focus on opening more restaurants and driving accessibility to drive growth. We over-focused on sales promotions, and we weren't putting any emotion into those promotions, so it was a real problem time for us, and something that we needed to correct quickly. So how do we go about doing it? So there's a story connected to this, so we've broken it down into three different chapters. So the first of which was around recovery, needing to drive that moment of reappraisal with the nation, then moving on to disruption, in the area of disruption where lots of different people were coming into all sorts of marketplaces. We had a moment for us to change our business model, to open up new sales channels, and to stay on the side of the customer. And then where we are today in that moment of leadership, and we'll talk you through that final step on that journey towards being loved by the nation. I'm going to hand over to Josh.
There we go. Thank you very much. See if I can work this. What is it? Click.
Click.
Click that
just
way.
a click. I couldn't manage it, but it is just
your classic click. Lovely. Okay, so let's look at recovery era of, as you were saying, Blair, the sugar babes, but that's what was going on in the world. Let's go under the bonnet of what was happening in McDonald's. This is the most data-heavy chart we've got for you on this very warm morning, but bear with us, it's a useful one. Shows sales history of the brand from its arrival in the UK. And we can see restaurant numbers in yellow, they're growing, and sales numbers in blue, and you don't have to be a data analyst to see what was going on, and the sales were following restaurant numbers were being driven by opening new restaurants, which makes sense, right? That's what was happening until that stopped working around this time, when all of the stuff that Ben was talking about, brand as a bit of a lightning rod for society, was happening, and that was not a happy trajectory for sales at all, obviously. And when we dug around what was happening for people, customers, this emotional connection that Ben was talking about was absolutely crucial. And the kind of emotional relationship with the nation was to some extent broken. We did lots of really clever analysis on what drivers of usage in the category were, and it's all about love and trust, I suppose. Relationships overall, all about love and trust, true in eating out as well. And love and trust were at an all-time low for McDonald's, lowest they'd ever been, and lowest in the category as well. So at an all-time low, and we realized we need to re-earn the place of the brand in the hearts of the nation. And so the business had a proper stop and rethink, and it sort of looked top to bottom and encompassed all areas of the business, really, way before it got to marketing. So the iconic food, reformulating it, taking fat, salt, sugar out of the food, huge amounts over time, while still retaining the iconic taste. Redesigning the restaurants. Some of you, depending on your age, may remember those red and plastic restaurants of our youth. Made way for sort of green, calm, wooden, organic feel. And then last but not least, the likes of Ben and I were involved in rethinking the role of brand building. And we thought we'd share the kind of secret recipe, our secret sauce, if you like. 3 ingredients in it, very simple, but been incredibly powerful. So I'm going to go through those. The first one is about marketing investment, and this flows beautifully on. It's almost as if the event organizers knew how to sequence this from Orlando's talk about salesmanship and showmanship, because up until that time, it'd been very much focused on salesmanship, 2 pillars, promotional pillars, one focused on value and low-price products, one focused on continually launching new products, and we introduced 2 pillars that were much more about the emotion that Ben talks about, or you could think about it, the showmanship that Orlando was talking about, delivering on those 2 drivers of category usage, trust and love. So that was the first fundamental change, the sort of base of the recipe. The second thing was tone. We had 4 different pillars, but I think lots of people observed over time that one of the things that held it together has been a kind of signature McDonald's tone. And this is it. And it's in speech marks for a reason, because it came out of someone's mouth. The mouth it came out of was the global CEO at the time. And I was fortunate to be at a global conference, and they have one of those meet the CEO things where you can go up and meet them one-to-one. So I was sort of fanboying, going, what do you think of the brand? And he said, at our worst, when we're really under pressure, we can be defensively aggressive, or at least appear to be defensively aggressive. At our best, we show that we're confidently humble. And we absolutely love that as a tone. The humility to know that McDonald's obviously plays quite a small role, really, in everyone's lives, but the confidence to know that it plays that role really well. And so that became, it's really hard to capture something like tone. Agencies, clients, teams need something, a phrase to sort of capture it. That became the phrase. We've cranked up the confidence at times, particularly in recent years, but confidently humble, that's been the mantra. Last but not least, the seasoning. I think I might be torturing this recipe analogy, Ben. The seasoning in this recipe was insight, having really powerful insights. The best do these 3 things. They're uniquely of the brands. They're universal to British life. As Ben was saying, the whole of British life is in McDonald's. It's a universal, welcoming, democratic brand. And last, strategists like myself can be too clever. Actually, just simple, hearts not smarts insights that people really feel. So that was the insight, that was the recipe. 3 ingredients. Did it work? It's much more interesting to see the outcome than the actual recipe, isn't it? Should we watch some of the work? This is one of the early ads in that love pillar that we spoke about.
Now the Trekkie types and techie types and don't disturb a brekkie types were just passing by. And the cheeky guys with shifty eyes who pilfer someone else's fries were just passing by. And the hard-to-please with jangly keys ordering quarter-pounders with cheese were just passing by. And the kids in Crocs and roll-down socks who think their Happy Meal box rocks were just passing by. And the white van men called Jack and Ben who grab a bite about 10:30 were just passing by. And the bunch who like to lunch upon a hunch and chat and munch and take no notice of the credit crunch were just passing by. There's a McDonald's for everyone.
So hopefully you can see how the elements of the recipe all came together in that very successful spot. This is what it did for love and trust. On our love and trust-ometer here, they were low, and over the course of 5 years, got them back into growth, got visits, sales back into growth, and really interestingly, actually, for what I think is interesting, for what Orlando was talking about, ROI doubled in that period to £4.46. So despite the fact we're investing in long-term brand building, it's actually twice as efficient in terms of driving sales. So that was chapter one. We thought, great, job done. But we entered a new decade, the teens, the 20-teens. Actually, it was an era of great disruption. This is what was going on in the world. Cast our mind back. Started with such optimism. 2012, and the London Olympics, thought it was going to be a great decade. Ended in divide and discord with Brexit, a lot of which was overseen by that gentleman there in funny ways, one way or another. But what was going on the high street? McDonald's was under a lot of pressure from all angles. Do you remember these brands? Not many of them around. The posh burger places, a lot of investment flooded onto the high street. Private equity was backing expansion of these premium burger places. Likewise, we started turning into a nation of coffee drinkers. Nation of coffee drinkers, easy one to say. And they were starting to get into food and the likes of it. And can you imagine a decade ago, no one had fast food delivered? Incredible. That was obviously a real risk for a business that was built on restaurants and drive-thrus and the like. Another big moment for the brand. There was a vivid expression that was used by the head of corporate comms at the time. I remember in a meeting he was going, the tanks are on the lawn. There was a real sense of threat and pressure. And the bold move was to go, right, we're going to go from being under pressure, from being disrupted, if I can get it to click, to being the disruptor, to take the fight back out. And that looks lovely and simple in retrospect on a nice click of a chart. But it meant some quite small but important tweaks to the recipe. So you may remember value and variety. We actually put those two promotional pillars into one. Let's see, there we go. They combined into a visit pillar, making space for a pillar which was about disruption. We had 3 Ds of disruption, didn't we, Ben? We had delivery, I can try to remember, delivery, digital, so digital touchscreens, digital loyalty, and the last was about democratizing new food categories or moments, coffee being a really important one. And the brand had launched McCafe as a sub-brand. And the first couple of years we launched that, we actually realized we'd been copying the codes of the category, banging on about Arabica beans to not much effect. And we thought, actually, let's take the fight, let's stop copying, let's call out some of the nonsense that's happening in the coffee category. And this was the campaign that we launched.
Madness, madness, they call it madness.
Just want a coffee.
It's plain to see, that is what they mean to me. Madness, madness, I call it madness.
That's £9.
What?
McCafe. Great tasting coffee.
There you go.
Simple.
Thanks.
Very good. So you can see the confidence, aim to disrupt. We didn't just do tele ads, by the way, but it's easier to show in a session like this. So those changes, that spirit of disruptedness, also translated into how we approach trust. So trust, we haven't talked about trust yet. Trust, really important for a brand like McDonald's. Those posh burger places, the higher price implied for a lot of people higher quality. McDonald's food quality scores started to go down. So again, we wanted to get back on the front foot. And there were loads, this was the time where social was really becoming much more influential. There's loads of myths and misinformation about the brand, sort of gross out stories that were untrue but clickbaity. And we again thought, right, let's challenge those. Let's call them out and go, really? Do you really believe that? And this was one of the TV spots.
This is a cow. As drawn by Laura Evans, age 9 1/4. Apparently, it's the kind of cow McDonald's use. Laura thinks they're full of additives and other bits, as they wouldn't use good beef just to make burgers. Her mum says so. Hi, Beth. And it must be true because Carol told her. This is Ted. Ted is a butcher. He wants to show them what he thinks makes a great burger. The right feed, fresh air, and whole cuts of fore, quarter and flank. And that's it, 100% beef. And a pinch of salt and pepper. And that's exactly what goes into a McDonald's burger.
Let's look at the love and trustometer. And you can see the improvement. You can see the improvement we made. Look how far those scores have come since the beginning of the journey. Customer visits growing as a result. And it would have been lovely to just enjoy a moment of leadership, enjoy the view from the summit, but of course, wasn't to be, because we all know what happened next, COVID. And the brand became an unlikely bellwether of some of that time, and there was a moment early on when Paul Pomeroy, the then CEO, decided to close all of the restaurants in the interest of colleagues and crew and customers' safety, way before competitors, whether it was shops, restaurants, had decided to. And I remember that Sunday, and it was big news. It was all over the news, and my phone was blowing up as much as my phone ever does. And people saying, wow, if McDonald's is closed, this must be big. This must be important. And it was. And it was big for all of us, but it was big for the brand as well, shutting all the stores for 8 weeks, not a penny coming in. Over 2 million people come a day normally. No one was coming in. And supporting a huge workforce, it was really important to get that business going again. And so when it was time to reopen our doors, we were looking out there at what was going on in terms of communications. And you may remember these. There was a brilliant YouTube montage entitled "Every COVID ad is the same." Deserted streets, mournful piano music, people saying, we're here for you in a non-specific way. And we thought, no. We did a lot of customer research, and people were saying, don't say you care. Don't say you care. I wouldn't know what to do with your care. Just help in some way. And the way that McDonald's can help, obviously, is bring a little bit of lightness, feel good, a little bit of escape. And didn't we all need that? So we thought, right, let's turn up as loudly and proudly McDonald's and welcome everyone back. And so this was the telly ad then.
Can I take your order, please?
I'm so happy.
Awesome. I absolutely love that bit of advertising. I think it says everything you need to know about a brand that has confidence in the way that people feel about it. It's taking a leadership position, but it's genuinely, it doesn't feel different from where we were. It's been an evolution. There's a golden thread, that DNA that runs through all of our work, that means that we don't show up as a completely different brand, but we're continually evolving ourselves, and I think that is incredibly powerful. And this was our first step, so the insights in there are all very true, and you can see the little nuggets in there for those who don't like pickles. Shame on you, I love them, I'll have your extras. But all of those little nuggets were the first foray into what we like to call fan-to-fan advertising. So rather than kind of being a little bit defensive and a little bit kind of deferential, understanding that there's a huge majority of people out there who love these things about our brand, we can focus on these truths and really begin to celebrate them. And that really, really is kind of the bridgehead into where we go next. But let's have a look at the impact. So Josh took you kind of through where we were when we're looking at index sales versus restaurant openings. Not a particularly pretty picture. That decline was quite shocking to us as a business. We hadn't experienced it in a while. But the moves we made absolutely reversed that trend. And this is a massive amount, with the market share that we gained during this period, delivery being a huge part of that as well in terms of opening up accessibility. It didn't just rely on us opening new restaurants. There was unmet demand that we could meet from customers who are already kind of out and about with us today. So really, really exciting turnaround, not something to be sniffed at. But putting a little bit of kind of rigor behind how we got there, it's very easy to talk about the pillars, and they were very critical in terms of focusing our large agency and a marketing team on how we're reshaping our marketing. But we used to spend nothing on brand advertising. We were very, very focused on ongoing sales activations, lots of promotions. And for a time that worked when we were very dominant in the marketplace and we didn't have the same level of competition. That was fine, that worked okay for us. But what that didn't do was insulate us against the future shocks from the external world. And that's why the brand advertising becomes so important in order to create that insulation and to move people beyond that functional relationship that we discussed earlier. So that spend went from 0 to 43%, which is a huge shift. We had the massive benefit of running very clear econometric modeling as well to prove that out. As a franchise organization, we have to sell to our franchisees the marketing plan. And they love a discount and a promotion and a sales activation. And what do you mean the fluffy colouring in department want to do a brand ad? It didn't really resonate very well. The benefit of running econometric modelling was we could prove it bloody well worked. And that really resonated well and enabled us to accelerate that level of investment across that period. So across that time, the measured contribution to sales from marketing was 6.1 billion. I always feel like I have to raise my finger in a Dr. Evil moment at that point. But a huge contribution that was directly attributable to marketing, which is massive. What I do want to just call back to those is the list that Josh kind of shared earlier. Marketing played a huge role, but selling a brand promise is nothing unless there is customer noticeable change in the restaurant. So the restaurant reimaging and design was a huge part of that journey. It signaled that moment of disruption. It signaled change for customers and enabled our marketing to be the best that it possibly could, alongside our fantastic crew serving people in a friendly and efficient manner.
So we thought we'd just pick out a few. I mean, it's 20 years, but there's 3 themes we thought might be helpful for others. The first, this is borrowing a phrase from Alistair McCrow, who's CEO, but was CMO in the UK for many years. And he talks about, and I think it's relevant to any brand, stay half a step ahead of the customer. Too far ahead, and you kind of lose them. If you're not far ahead enough, you're kind of yesterday's brand, and being that half a step ahead, it requires a really interesting balance of like insight, so you really understand where customers are, but intuition as well, so you can predict and have a confidence in where you might take them. So that was the first one. Second one is a point of view on leadership, really. I think LinkedIn is full of takes on leadership, but we think leadership is a dangerous concept, really. It can sort of imply a steady, settled state, and complacency is obviously the enemy. So hopefully you've seen on this journey how we've continually challenged, whether it's competitors, even our customers in playful ways, and certainly ourselves on how to keep evolving. And that's why this idea of writing the next chapter is so important. It's really interesting to hear Orlando speaking before us about the work that Burnett and Field did and that seminal study of long and the short of it in 2013, I think, I can't remember. This journey started way before that. It took a real degree of confidence and trust and holding of hands and making steps together. A belief that we could write the next chapter. Now that's become received wisdom and it's been proven out. That wasn't the case then. And we've made moves like that continually. And we're still making moves like that today.
We are. And just on that point, I think there's a restlessness both with the agency and with my team as well. We're constantly challenging one another. So there is no room for complacency. We're in the midst of writing the next chapter on this story. So a couple of examples on this in terms of the journey that we're on. So this is how McDonald's can create these truly iconic partnerships at scale that nobody else can match, but fundamentally linked to the brand. That joy of opening the Happy Meal that I referred to at the beginning when you open the box as a kid, why not open it up for adults? And the Minecraft collectible meal was sensational for us, but it related to us as a brand and something that felt true and authentic. Leaning into our iconic products. We obviously go toe-to-toe with Greggs on price, but what Greggs can't match is our iconic, delicious breakfast taste. So leveraging that, having the confidence of a brand ad without a logo, without any words on it, just showing the image that is so recognizable that it can only be from McDonald's, and we saw a good performance from that. And then launching new iconic burgers. The launch of the Big Arch has been incredibly powerful for us as a business. It's the only thing that will get me to choose that beyond a Big Mac. It's been really powerful for us, but creating new icons is something that we're incredibly restless about. But as we said at the beginning, it's a more complicated time. We used to rely a lot on mass marketing. We had big budgets, and we could rely on that to do the heavy lift. That world has changed. We now need to be creating memeable content that gets the nation talking, that people want to share. So I just wanted to highlight this campaign. Josh, if you spin around, you're modeling our delightful merch on this one. So we're about to launch a double fillet fish burger. In the past, we would have bought 3,500 posters to be precise, and we would have smashed out 1,500 ratings on TV, and we would have done the job, and everyone would know that we're now doing the double fillet of fish. Our marketing budget weirdly didn't allow for us to do that, so we thought, what should we do? Let's go and find a Facebook group from 2012 that only has 6 followers, and we're going to breathe some life into it. But that's based on the insight that the Filet-O-Fish has a fan base. It's a burger that's loved by few, but nobody likes to talk about the fact they love it. So that was the insight that drove this campaign. So we went and breathed new life into this campaign. It's very scalable. It's going to net us a big result.
Oh,
I've got a lot of these puns. I could keep going. But it was something that really caught fire. So this is like a great example. So in terms of driving participation with our fan base, so a fan came up with this big fish, little fish, cardboard box, and it's just the advertising sells itself. They're going to do Josh's team out of the job.
Exactly. It's all over.
But the virality that we're able to create with zero marketing budget, getting a flag up on the BBC in Glastonbury has been sensational. The business results yesterday were 200% above projection, and that's getting that audience participation and a new model of advertising that is going to define our new chapter, where we operate in fandoms, we talk fan to fan, and we get that participatory, it's hard to say some words on stage, experience that we know is going to drive business growth. So really exciting. And then just because we're super relevant, we saw this morning on This Morning. Phil, also if you spin around Josh, our main character from the archives, which is true, his name is Phil A.O. Fish, is the character we've got. This guy, who's a chef on This Morning, is now creating a DIY Filet-O-Fish. And again, we're going to repost that. We recreate the bit, and we're building a wave of social media hype around this.
That was at 10:55. It was literally just before we came on stage. So thank you to the tech guys for chucking this in to the deck for us, and God knows what the quality is going to be like.
Exactly.
This is recorded at someone's home on their phone.
Right, got this really good idea today. We're going to do fish with cheese. Simple, just laugh at you. But here it works.
Lorraine Kelly, very, very excited about this.
Oh no, Lorraine said fish finger.
She said
Yes,
fish
she
finger.
did.
This isn't strictly fish finger though, is it?
No, this is a proper fillet.
So that really is kind of the point that we wanted to end. And I think for brands to succeed today, you have to be creating cultural capital. You have to be worth talking about. You have to be entertaining. And ultimately, we're in show business, not the burger business. So that's a great way to wrap up. Josh, over to you. Any final words?
Thank you very much for listening. Have a great day.
Thank you.